This is a sonnet. Um, it's one of the very first sonnets I ever wrote. And I was teaching. I was at the University of Iowa. I just started teaching, and I had to teach an introduction to literature class that involved poetry. And my students, they hated poetry. Well, they didn't really care about poetry. They didn't know a darn thing about poetry. And I was racking my brain. I was trying to figure out how am I going to get these kids to like poetry. And so I thought, well, how did I like it? And the way I kind of taught myself to like poetry was I just tried writing it. I would try to write iambic pentameter, and I would write, rhymes and things like that. And eventually I really kind of appreciated anybody could write poetry. So I thought, well, maybe I can make an assignment out of this. And so I tell my students, okay, here's your poetry assignment. Your poetry assignment is you got to write a sonnet. It's got to be 14 lines long. It's got to be iambic pentameter. Every single line has a rhyme with some other line. My students went, "Oh my God, no, we can't do this. It's crazy. You're nuts. You could not do your own assignment." And I said, "Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe I could write a sonnet. And I explained how, like about 80% of the sonnets are love poems. Maybe I'll write a love poem sonnet." And no, they did not want to hear anything about me and love. So they said, that they should get to pick the topic. So I said, well, okay, what should my sonnet be about? And they said, this horrible thing had just happened. There's a place called Hills, Iowa, real close to Iowa City. It was a terrible time for farmers. And this one farmer, he went nuts, went bankrupt or something like that. And he killed his wife, and then he killed his neighbor, and he went down to the bank and he killed his banker, and then he committed suicide. Yeah. And my students, they said, you gotta write about that. That'd be great. And I said, come on, 3 murders and a suicide in 14 lines. And they said, yeah. Well, if you can't do it, we're not going to do it. So, I went home and I spent the entire night working on this thing. And I'm not saying this is a good sonnet, but here it is. It's called The Farm Crisis, Iowa, 1985. There was a farmer west of here who took up all the talk for half a frozen week. When leaving home a mess for cops, he shook the blood off both his feet and went to seek for more. He had perhaps acquired the taste for brief-lived fame. After shotgunning Sam, the man next door, from out his truck, he raced to town and stopped beside the bank. "Hey, Pam," he yelled, "you tell that clown your boss who's here." When Ed emerged, he raised the gun and shot him as he yelled, then aimed at the cashier. "You want to live? Oh God, you want or not?" Then, while she watched, reversing gun to chin, he filled the air with blood and brains and skin.